welcome back. Today we're going to make this Wednesday Addams inspired card that absolutely makes my heart happy. So we're starting out with the Oddball Spooky Kids, the new sentiment set from Stampingbella, as well as the Haunted House backdrop. And then I'm going to be using these pink and Maine scalloped oval dies, as well as some pattern paper from My Favorite Things. I didn't end up using that black and white plaid, but I definitely did use the polka dot orange paper, which you can see there on the right hand side. So these items came from I found a scrap of plaid that I thought I was going to use, but then I didn't end up using it. But I love storing my scrap papers in these little envelopes now. It makes it so much easier. I have them sorted by brand, and that's been really working out well for me. They're from Pink and Maine. They're really convenient. So I started by trimming down my orange paper to be 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then I tested out the scallop dies with my images, with my stamps in the middle, to see what size I needed to fit and create this little scene I was envisioning. And the first oval that I grabbed was way too small. So I swapped it out for one that was just a little bit bigger, and it was perfect. And I'm going to cut a piece of Copic Express It paper with that oval die. And if you're like me and your die cutting plates have seen better days, to kind of solve that issue, I just take a piece of white printer paper, fold that in half, and then put my die and pattern, or my die and whatever paper, in the middle of that, and it helps keep it from getting all like notched up from a scratchy die cutting plate. So I also cut an A2 sized black panel. That'll be what goes onto my card base. And then before I started stamping my images, I stamped some masks. So I am stamping my 2 main images onto a full stick Post-it note. And then I am fussy cutting these with some sharp scissors from Simon Says Stamp. I am only going to show you cutting out Thing on top of the skull, the hand character from Addams Family. If you don't know, his name is Thing. So I cut him out, and then I cut out the Wednesday character too, but it's a lot of fussy cutting, and it's not my favorite part. So I trimmed that part out for you. I also knew that I was going to wait until the end to stamp my sentiment, but I kind of just held it up into place to make sure that there was enough room for it, that my little characters weren't too low down into the scene. Then I added my masks, just kind of lining them up. I also made a mask for the spider, but I didn't really need to do that because my scene is going to go, like the backdrop is going to go high enough that it doesn't matter. I love this haunted house backdrop. I think that it's amazing, and it fits so many different Halloween scenes. So I got that lined up. I wanted it to be a little off to the side. I just thought that would create a little bit more interest in my background. So I stamped that a few times. My go-to Copic friendly ink that I prefer is the Honeybee Stamps Intense Black ink, the Be Creative ink. That one is what I used for this project as well. And then I started my Copic coloring. So I started out with my main character, going in with my EO4 like I usually do on a Caucasian skin tone. I knew that I wanted her to be very pale, so I skipped my E13 and went straight in with my E11. Then we'll bring in some E00 and it's either a triple or a quad 0. I'm not sure. We'll see it in a second. And I kept that just right in the very center of the face. There you go. It's a 000. Just for that really nice pale highlight. For her eyes, normally I like to go in with some BGs, but because I wanted her to look kind of extra dead-eyed, like the oddballs from Stampingbella always have that kind of dead-eye look. That's why I love them so much. But I really wanted to intensify that, so I went in with some BV markers for her little eye contour, and I really love how that turned out. She needed classic black braids. So I went in with some cool gray markers, my C9, C7, and C5, and just kind of enhanced the shape of the braids. There's not a ton of room in there, so you don't have to really go like crazy with this shading. I just really wanted to create that kind of hair texture and then just kind of fill in the braids and leave enough highlight space that you could kind of tell the braid shape was in there. I made the body of her dress black as well with those same cool gray markers, same exact trio, kind of emphasizing the shadows over on the side. I didn't really leave the reflective light that I usually do because the chances are her dress isn't shiny, right? It's usually like a cotton or a wool. So I didn't feel that it needed the all like very intense highlight right on the edge. She also needed some matching black shoes. So I'm going to color those in again with the same color scheme. Then I will color in the white parts of her dress. I did the collar and her cuffs white with some, again, cool gray markers, but really light this time. And then added in some black striping to her stockings. I used some E40 markers and some really light toned, like kind of tan markers for all of the skulls. There's 2 skulls on the porch. There's a little one on her dress, and then the one that Thing is standing on. So I just kind of wanted them to look more of like a creamy off-white versus a gray. And that's just obviously a style choice, but that's how I prefer to color in my skulls. Thing got the same color scheme as Wednesday, so I went in with the E04, E11, E00, and then I added a couple little white highlights to the skull's eyes that I think are just so cute. So it kind of looks like the skull is like looking up at her. I just think it's sweet. I know that's a silly thing to say with this like crazy card. Also, I should mention, I guess, just to help protect them because I love them so much, I am choosing to use names from the Addams Family. These are not the names that Stampingbella has given to these stamps. These are just images from the Oddball Spooky Kids. I'm just saying they're inspired by Wednesday and Thing and the Addams Family, but that's me making an assumption and saying that. I don't know really how all that works, but there we go. Yeah. So as soon as I saw this release from Stampingbella, I knew that I needed these. And there's another Addams Family inspired stamp set that I also have on the way. I just love these Halloween images this year. They're so cute. Stampingbella has gone through a lot in the last year, and I, for a little bit, was just kind of wondering and worried that they might not continue creating, and I'm very glad that they are still around. I think their products are amazing. I will always support them. Okay, so I shaded in the trail coming from the house as if it's just like a dirt trail. And now I'm going in with some YG90 family markers to shade in the grass. I decided that at the bottom, I wanted my image to kind of just fade away into the white because that's where we're going to put our sentiment. And I didn't want to have to color down that whole thing with it kind of blank. So instead of doing a solid kind of stop or trying to blend it into nothing, I went for almost like a watercolor effect, kind of stippling color in along the edges, like creating a bottom edge and then adding some stippled dots that kind of dissipate and get lighter as they get towards the white. I just thought it was like a different way, something I hadn't tried before, but I really like how it turned out. So I went in with that YG 99, 97, and now I'm going in with the 95 just to fill in the rest of that grass. And I did end up bringing in another brighter YG marker, but seeing how this looks like here, I really could have just left it alone, to be honest. I mostly brought in another color to help me with the transition at the bottom. See, this is that YG03 that just kind of brightens it up. But I do like how the unsaturated greens, those more olivey greens look for the overall feeling of this card. So now you can see I'm going in and stippling in that extra green at the bottom, so it kind of just looks like it like pixelates out or something. I don't know exactly what to call that, but I like how it turned out. I wanted kind of a cold, bleak blue sky. I didn't want to just go gray, and I didn't want it to be super dark. So I pulled in some B91 because the 90s are always more unsaturated, or I guess less saturated. So they have more gray in them naturally. And then I also brought in BG70, which is this beautiful like mist color, and used that on the center area. And I think I got a really nice kind of that like cold gray feeling, right? I didn't want this to be a warm, sunny day. This has like a crisp autumn feel to it that I really love. The house was tricky because my instinct was to color it in like blacks. But I just don't think that fit. And I think with her being so much of those cool gray blacks, that it would just be too much. So I ended up going in with warm grays just to bring in a second kind of color family, even though we're still staying in the grays. And then I'm also going to bring in some E70s, which have that more purple brown base to them, a very cool brown, for the rooftops, because there's a bunch of them. Also, I apologize for the fly zipping in and out at points during this. When I turn on my like filming lights, it's just like outside when you turn on the light and all of the bugs immediately fly directly at that. That's what happens to me at night, and any fly that has managed to make its way into my house at any point in the day or the week immediately flocks to my desk when I turn on my studio lights. It's very frustrating. And they're so dumb, and they like ping off of the lights. Yeah. So I also use that E70 marker to fill in the little bit of the tree that is not covered up. And once everything was in place, I stamped my Mysterious and Spooky, which is from the theme song. If you know, you know. I stamped that in, and I love that this has those extra spider webs in the letters. So stinking cute. If you haven't used Stampingbella stamps before, they are a blue rubber, and they're already mounted onto cling foam. So I take my insert of my Misty out when I stamp with them, and they stamp beautifully, and the detail that you get is just amazing. So I adhered my orange panel flat, and then I popped up my oval with some foam tape. This one's from Pink and Maine, and that brings my card together. I'll just pop this onto an A2 side folding card base and call it a day. I had so much fun creating this kind of more simple scene card, and I hope that you are feeling super inspired to get spooky now that we are officially into fall. I love you guys so much. Thanks for coming to hang out, and until next time, happy crafting.